I do like my hair like this. Looks pretty nice. Okay. Hey everyone, it's Derica. Welcome back to the Story of Derica, where we talk about all things faith, lifestyle, and purpose. Used to be entrepreneurship, but I felt like purpose was a better fit for the things that I'm going to be talking about on this channel. We're making some progress and I'm just learning as I go. So today is going to be a faith-related topic. Now, when I say that it's going to be a faith-related topic, it's going to kind of go off of the last video that I talked about where I gave an update on my faith walk right now. If you have not seen that video, I highly suggest you watch that one because it's very meaningful and I feel like someone could benefit from it. But what I decided to do was go on and continue with my faith series right now based on the season that I'm in right now. Right now, I would consider myself in like this elevation season, and it came with a lot of hardships and kind of still is, you know, I'm still going through some things family wise and personally and all these different type of stuff. But I come to realize that this just makes way for elevation. And I feel like a lot of people out there are in the same boat. Like, you're probably going through the worst season of your life. You're probably in the lowest point of your life, a point that you never even thought that you would get to, like now. So I want to begin to make these videos just to encourage people out there and just restore hope, mostly through the Word of God. So when we talk about faith, we're going to be referencing the Bible, okay? So just to let you know and give you a heads up about that. I just pray that you have an open mind about it and that you have the ears and the heart and the mind to actually listen. And hopefully it can transform you. Hopefully it can encourage you. Hopefully it can help you, you know, find a new solution to your life. Whatever you're trying to look for right now, I hope and pray that this series will help you. So, like I mentioned in my last video, I guess that you can say I'm going through a bit of a Job season, a season that I was kind of dreading. And I was dreading it because of everything that Job went through. I'm not gonna lie to you. If it was me, well, it kind of is me, but I didn't go through everything to the extent that Job went through. Job went through a lot, and we're actually going to dive into a little of his story today. Since Job is what I'm currently studying, and I feel like it's, for people who are going through things right now, it's going to help them the most. So I've already done my own study on Job. I've already prayed. I've already, you know, applied the lessons that I've learned from it to my own life now, and still am. So it's very beneficial. So I don't have a script or anything, y'all. Whenever I do notes or whenever I study the Bible, I always, you know, do my own notes. So I will be reading from my phone. I try my best not to have scripts just because I don't want this to seem like fake or anything like that. I just want this to be a conversation. So even if it's just me, you know, speaking to a camera and you're eventually watching it, I just want this to be a conversation. So yeah, without further ado, because I think that this video is going to be long, because I'm not sure if I'm going to cover Job 1 and 2 today, or if I'm just going to do Job 1 and then split up Job 2. The reason why is because both of them are pretty similar, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So let's go on and get started. So I'm going to give a brief synopsis of the story of Job, and even just tell mini stories of the current journey that I'm going through right now. And hopefully it can help you along your journey as well as you navigate whatever difficulties are happening in your life. So like I mentioned in my last video, I've been going through a lot of hardships over the past several months actually. And really those hardships have spanned more than that as well, like basically for part of last year and for earlier this year as well. But things have really just amped up and have been amplified for the past couple months, since September really. And I just had no idea why. Things were happening out of nowhere. I was losing family members, and I felt like I was losing my mind, and I was just, a lot of stuff was happening both internally with me and just around me as well. And I just had no idea why. It just felt like I was randomly being attacked, because before then everything was all good. Like, I was good with my move and everything, and my family was doing good, and everyone's happy, everything's good, all this stuff is happening, and it's great. It's great. It's great. When did everything go so bad? Why did everything go so bad and so quickly? Like, when I tell you, one moment, you know, it's August, I'm celebrating my birthday, I'm celebrating being in this new city, in this new state, I'm exploring, I'm doing all these things, I'm, you know, my family is good, all this different type of stuff. And now a month later, not even a month later, like some weeks later, all hell broke loose. And it just seemed like it came out of nowhere. And that's exactly what happened with Job, believe it or not. So what I just described to you is exactly what happened with Job as well. When we first start chapter 1, we see just a glimpse into his life. He's blessed. He is a blessed man. He has a wife. He has all these kids. He has servants. He has cattle. He has, you know, land. You know, he has all these things that made him prosperous back in the time that he lived. Because back then, if you had all these things and you had them in multitudes, it made him, you know, a wealthy man. He was an excellent man. He was that dude back then, is what I'm trying to say. And on top of that, he was a God-fearing man as well. So what do I mean when I say he's God-fearing? He has a personal relationship with God, right? It's not just that he goes to church or anything like that. He actually spends time with the Lord. He has an established relationship with him. How do we know that? Because God said that in the chapter as well. He said that Job was a blameless man. He was a man who was after, you know, God's heart. He was all these things. And he was just in bliss right now, right? So all of a sudden, all these bad things started happening with Job. His kids ended up dying. I believe he lost his livestock. He also, some of his servants, you know, died, things of that nature. Just all these things were just happening out of nowhere. Everything was going wrong. And on the outside, from Job's perspective, it was just like, why? You know, like, he had no idea what was going on. It was just unexpected. Behind the scenes, though, it was actually a different story. So this is where we transition into the next part of the chapter, where we get a glimpse into what goes on in heaven, or basically the heavenly realm, right? The spiritual realm. And I don't think that we see much of that often. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm still, you know, studying the Bible for myself. I don't know everything, you know, and I will never claim to know everything. But I'm pretty sure that this is one of the few times that we see what is happening in the spiritual realm. So we get a glimpse into what's going on. So basically what happens is Satan, the enemy, is basically roaming around, essentially looking for his next victim, which is what he does. The best way that I can describe the enemy is like a toxic ex. He's going to keep stalking you. He's going to keep trying to attempt to ruin your life so that you can never be happy for the rest of your life, all this different type of stuff. And it's true. It's very true. That's exactly what he was doing in that moment. He was searching for his next victim, right? He was roaming the earth. And eventually, you know, since he has to report to the Lord, that's what's going on. Angels are reporting to the Lord. Everything has to report to the Lord, right? Including Satan. So he is reporting to God, and God's basically asking him, hey, you know, what are you doing? And he's saying, oh, you know, just roaming the earth, doing what I do, that type stuff, right? So then God does something that many people would think to themselves, why? He designated Job for testing. Now, I'm going to pause right there, because this is where things kind of get a little tricky and you might have some questions. So we're going to walk through this for a bit, okay? Bear with me. So when we say that God designated Job for testing, it does not mean that he wanted him to face any type of temptation, because there's a difference between the two. God is the one that tests. Satan is the one that tempts. Tests always lead to some type of elevation. Temptation always leads to some type of destruction or sin, right? So let's put that out there first and foremost. And we'll see this as we go through Job 2, and even just in the first chapter alone, you'll see what I mean by that. But just keep that in mind. Keep that in your mind. So God is saying all these great things about Job, right? Because he knows Job's heart. So everything that he's saying is true. He's a blameless man. He is a man who loves God. He would never betray him. All these things. God's really vouching for Job because that's how his heart actually is. And that's the beautiful thing about God, is he does know our hearts. He knows our true motives. He knows how we operate. He knows what we're thinking. So we can't really fake. We can fake it with other people, but we can't fake it with God, okay? Because he will be quick to call you out on your stuff. I say that from experience. The way that God has checked me in a lot of ways. Yeah. So putting that out there. If no one else knows you, if you think that no one knows you better than you know yourself, or whatever the saying is, know that God knows you and he's going to keep you in check. Okay. Anyways, back to the story. So God's here vouching for Job, saying that he is the man that he says that he is. He's blameless. He's perfect, essentially, because he's walking with God, right? And here goes the enemy trying to talk mess, essentially, right? He's basically saying he's only doing that because, you blessed him in his life. You gave him all these kids. You gave him all this land, this livestock. You gave him all these things. That's the only reason why he praises you. That's the only reason why he wants a relationship with you, is because of the things that you can do for him. Take all that stuff away, I guarantee you he's going to walk away from you forever, right? Basically calling God's bluff, right? And God does something that a lot of people may have questioned why. He basically says, okay, if you say that, then you can do this. You can take away his blessings. But the only thing that God said that the enemy could not do was take away Job's life. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, why would God do that? Why would God, put Job to, that type of test? Why would that happen? And many people would think that, oh, it's because, God is the one who did all that. God is the one who took all these people away from me. God is the one. 9 times out of 10, no. Especially if you truly have done nothing wrong, right? Of course, there are consequences to our actions. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you are truly someone who has done nothing wrong. You are truly someone whose life was blissful and all this different type of stuff, right? And then everything, crumbles like that. That's what I'm talking about. So you may be thinking to yourself right now, why would God put him to the test like that? Why would God do that? Why? The main reason is for what I just stated previously in this video. To elevate Job. It was time for Job to elevate in his life. And when you need to be elevated, you have to go through a test. It's inevitable, right? Just like walking with Christ and, giving your life to the Lord and walking with him. The hardships don't stop, unfortunately. Why? Because we live in a fallen world. There are going to be wicked people all around. There are going to be people who want to hurt you. There are going to be people who want to do harm, all this different type of stuff. You can't run away from, lifing, essentially, right? It's always going to happen. But when lifes, before you can get to the next stage of your own life, you have to be tested in the process. And that's exactly what's going on with Job. Now, the thing that I want to put out there, because I've heard this so many times, are people saying when bad things happen in their lives, oh, it's how is he a good God and all this different type of stuff, like basically blaming God for everything that's happening in their lives. I just want to put out there that not every bad thing that happens in your life comes from God. As we see from Job, it can come from the enemy, because if you continue to read on with the story and with the chapter, you'll see that the enemy did exactly what he was in the realm to do. He basically took away all of Job's physical things. He took away his kids, his livestock, his servants. And when we get to chapter 2, we'll see he even took a stab at his health. But the one thing that God said he could not touch was his life. Why? Because God cares about and loved Job so much that he did not want him to die. And trust me, when I was going through my hardships, I just thought to myself, did I do something wrong? Like, what did I do to deserve all this? When in reality, it's all a test of faith to see if you're going to still stick with the Lord. If all hell broke loose, are you still going to stick with your crew? If all hell broke loose, are you still going to stick with your best friend? If all hell breaks loose, are you still sticking with God, or are you folding? Are you folding the moment that something bad happens? Are you folding the moment that there seems to be no way out? Are you folding? Where does your loyalty lie? That is basically what's going on right now. That's why God wanted Job to go through the test. And another thing that I want to point out as well is another reason why God may take us through tests. It's for a few reasons. I did jot them down on my phone because it's quite a few, and I had to do a little bit of research for each of these. But it's essential to learn more about why we go through tests, walking with God and things of that nature, even when life's, why we go through tests, things of that nature. So I just wanted to put that out there. So why do I say that? I say that because God is not someone who wants you to die. He wants you to live. He wants you to live a prosperous life. He wants you to live an everlasting life. So why would he want you dead? Why would he take a stab at your life? That's not God. That's the enemy wholeheartedly. Full stop. I just wanted to put that out there just for anyone who may still be thinking that every single bad thing that happens in your life is because of God. No. There are many reasons why bad things happen to us. And if it seems for no reason, 9 times out of 10 is for the enemy. And in the midst of that, there may be a test for you to elevate with God, right? If the going gets tough, are you sticking with him? I hope that makes sense. I tried to explain that in the best way possible. And if not, just let me know, and hopefully I can explain it in like a different video or in a different way so that it's more clear. But back to the story. So basically that's what happens, right? The enemy attacks Job. The only thing that he cannot do is take his life. So how does Job respond to this? What happens in the midst of that? So before we continue with the story, I do want to throw out something else in regards to testing and being tested by the Lord, what that entails. Because remember, you have to take some type of test to elevate. It happens in school. It happens all the time, right? But there are a few reasons why God does take us through testing that is worth noting. So I wanted to go on and put that out there before we continue with the rest of chapter 1. So there are 2 main reasons why people who follow Christ, or Christ followers, believers, Christians, why we endure testing with God. The 2 reasons are, 1, it's to refine and strengthen our faith, aka to elevate you, to mature you, to grow you, because we are not meant to stay the same. I think I mentioned this in the previous video as well. We are definitely not meant to stay the same, especially when we're walking with God. He's going to push you to grow, okay? He does not want you to be in the same mindset. He doesn't want you to think the same, do the same, especially when it's causing you death and destruction. That's not what he wants for our lives. He wants us to elevate. He wants us to grow. He wants us to mature. He wants us to experience life, and life to the fullest. But you can't do that if you're stuck in your ways. You can't do that when you're stubborn. You can't do that when you're lazy. You can't do that when all of these things, right? At some point, when you want to grow, you have to decide for yourself, enough is enough. What do I have to do to get to that point? And this is exactly what testing does, right? You know, and how do you learn the material? The material's in the Bible, right? I mean, when you study God's word and you apply it to your life, you're going to pass the test each and every time. And with each past test, you keep growing, you keep maturing, you keep blossoming, all these things, right? So that's one thing. It's to, help us grow spiritually, help us become more mature, all this different type of stuff, right? But the second thing that it also does is build perseverance, character, hope, and like I mentioned previously, spiritual maturity. So it helps to form your character. It helps you to become that better person that you actually want to be. The person that you said that you wanted to be last year, but you're still not that person today because you're not putting in the work. In this walk, you're going to have to put in some work. Testing included. It's not going to be all peaches and rainbows and all that different type of stuff. It's not. You're going to have to put in some type of work if you're going to grow in any level of your life. I don't care. It doesn't even have to apply to your walk with Christ. It could be with anything. You don't have to be a believer to know that you need to put in some hard work if you want to grow. Okay? But that's an important principle that you need to know. And that's why testing is essential. That's why testing is done. And that's why it's always going to be done. You just need to be prepared at all times. Like, don't get caught lacking. You can get tested at any moment. And it can be unexpected, like a pop quiz. It's always going to be like a pop quiz. So stay prepared and you will be fine, okay? Now back to the story. So after Satan does what he does, after he took away all of Job's physical blessings, I mentioned physical blessings, we will get to that momentarily. How does Job respond? I can tell you how I responded when all the stuff started happening in my life. It's the same way that he responded. He grieved, he cried, he mourned. So for anyone who thinks to themselves, oh, I gotta, be strong and all that different stuff, you can be vulnerable. Come on now. When a family member passes away, are you really just going to sit there and hold back your tears? Are you really just going to say, oh, well, life goes on, all that different type of stuff? No. You are going to grieve. Tears are going to be flowing down your face. You're going to be snot-nosed, questioning, wondering why, all that different type of stuff. It's okay. Why? Because we're humans. Of course we have emotions. Of course we have feelings. Of course we want to scream and shout whenever something bad happens. Of course that's going to happen. That's what happened with Job. Specifically, it said that he tore his robe and stuff and he grieved. Yes, absolutely. I would too if I lost my kids. I would too if, servants of mine who I'm close with end up dying. I would if I lost what was making me money, essentially, right? I would definitely grieve. But the remarkable thing about Job is, even though all that stuff was happening to him, in the midst of his grieving, he did not curse God. He did not blame God even. Instead, what did he do? He thanked God. He thanked God for his life. He thanked God for, he just thanked God. Specifically what Job did in addition to grieving, in addition to letting his emotions flow, letting the tears flow, whatever was going on with him during that time, he grieved. He did not curse God. He worshiped him. He thanked him. He did not let up, right? Defying what Satan said that he would do. Why? Because Job was truly after God's heart. He truly did love God. He did not fold. He showed his loyalty right then and there. And that's just a question that I just want to pose for you, was the one that I just asked previously. If all hell broke loose, are you going to fold? Are you going to start blaming God for everything going on? Or are you going to just sit, grieve, sure, but think to yourself, I thank God that I still have my life. I thank God for an elevation season, because that's exactly what's going to happen, right? I thank God. That's what I had to come to grips with my own grieving journey. Like, I'm not afraid to say I still grieve. Like, these are still recent things that are happening in my life. I still grieve. I still have moments where I just cry. I still have days where I just don't want to get out of bed. I have all this stuff happening with me, but I am just still grateful for the life that I have. And I'm just so grateful that I still have my family with me. I'm grateful that we are still afloat even in the midst of our grieving. I am just so thankful for everything in my life still. I'm thankful that I'm about to grow. I'm thankful that I have a new mindset. I'm thankful that I'm not the same person that I was even months ago before all this stuff started happening. I'm thankful that I can mature. I'm thankful that I literally feel the growth happening. I'm just so thankful and grateful. I challenge you to do the same. Instead, yes, you can grieve. I'm not saying, skip the grieving. But in the midst of your grieving, think about the things that you can be thankful for. Yes, I lost my loved one, but I'm thankful to still have those memories of them. Yes, I lost this job, but I'm thankful to still have a roof over my head. Yeah, I don't have a stable income coming in, but I'm thankful that I have food in my fridge. All this different type of stuff that comes from God. I'm just so thankful for, and I just challenge you to do the same. Just see in the midst of your grieving what God is still doing in your life. You still have your life. Be thankful for that. I think that was just a true example of showing love for God and just never folding. That was a beautiful display of it from Job. And I think that's something that we can all take away from his journey, from his walk, from his hardships, So that's something to keep in mind. So if I could conclude this chapter in just one short statement, I'd say this. The enemy will enact his plans to steal, kill, and destroy you at any time or day and use anything. That's his whole purpose. He wants to steal from you, kill you, your spirit, all this different type of stuff, and destroy your life. So don't be surprised when, hardships come about, because 9 times out of 10, it's the enemy. It's not God. And although it can be hard during moments of great loss, it's okay to grieve. But remember to respond well by seeking and worshiping the Lord for who he is. That comes with having a relationship with God. And the only way that you can have a relationship with him is to seek him for yourself. Don't seek him through other people. Don't seek him through what the internet says. Seek him for yourself. Try him out for yourself. When you are in a relationship, you don't bring other people into your relationship. It's you and that person. You get to know that person. You get to learn about them. You explore them. All this different type of stuff. You don't get that from other people, because other people can skew that. The moral of this chapter is, when you face hardships of any kind, think for a moment that maybe it's a test. Maybe it's time for you to elevate. Maybe it's time for you to get to the next phase of your life that you say that you actually want to experience. Consider that maybe this is an opportunity for you to elevate. And instead of blaming God, thank him and seek him for what to do next. Because I can give you a little glimpse of what happens at the end. Job did not fold. He did not fold when it came to his walk with God. And guess what? God blessed him tenfold with what he lost. Better than what he lost. So I just challenge you. If you are someone like me who has been going through a lot of stuff over the past several months, I just really encourage you to seek the Lord for how you're going to get through this test. I encourage you to cling to him. I encourage you to continue on forward. Keep going. Don't stop. That's what the enemy wants you to do, is to stop. He wants you to abandon ship and abandon God, right? But this is not the time to do that. It's time for you to elevate. And you cannot elevate if you are stopping. It's okay to grieve, but do not stop. Keep going. This can apply to anything that you're going through right now. You are about to become the person that you said that you wanted to be. Keep going. You're gonna get there. Okay, that's all that I have for this video. I'm definitely going to make this into 2 parts because we have not even gotten into chapter 2. So I hope that I explained this in the best way possible. Of course, I also hope that you've learned something from, you know, this description of Job, the first chapter. If you have, please let me know what you took away from it. What was your aha moment? What was something that helped you? And I hope and pray that it does help you with whatever you're going through in your life, you know? I hope that it encourages you and gives you the strength needed to push forward. So anyways, I'm about to go now. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as well. And share this with someone who may be going through a hard time as well and may need this encouragement. So I hope that y'all have a great rest of your day, night, evening, whatever part of the day it is that you're watching from. I will speak to you soon. Bye.